Latest football news,
engaging debates,
and fascinating opinions.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. So on new times of Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, as always. And I'm joined by our League One expert. It is Dan. Dan, how are you doing? How are you doing in this quite miserable weather, really, of winter now, unfortunately?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. Obviously, still reeling off the result on Tuesday, but doing all right.
Yes, we'll get into that later on the show. Well, if you want to follow us on any of our social medias, please do. Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram Talk_pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud if you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, like Jose Mourinho likes to do when he makes long travels out to European countries on his plane. It is Pitchside Talk. If you've not seen that meme, it is the best one ever. Even we actually memed it as well. That's a miracle because I'm not very good with memes. I see memes, so I'm a bit late to it, but I was early for once. Well, I'm going to be talking quite a lot in today's show. We're going to talk about Ipswich Town. We had two more games for Ipswich Town, one away, one at home. We'll have to see what happened there. The Premier League was back for another game week, and we have another Champions League roundup with all four English sides back in action once again, only 7 days after the last round of Champions League matches. Well, when we come back, we're talking about Ipswich Town, the highs and the lows. Dan's not going to like some of it, but Dan's going to love some more of it.
Stay up to date with the latest footy news.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan. As always, will always be here until the end. Every football match we will cover for Ipswich Town. And well, we've got two Ipswich Town matches to cover, and it's just played twice in 4 days once again. But we're going to do a little quick roundup of Saturday's game, which was away to Lincoln. A big test for Ipswich Town once again. And well, they lost it 1-0 after Toto Enciala gave away a penalty, with the hosts scoring going back top of League One. But also miserable days for Ipswich Town as well. John Nolan getting a straight red card, out for 3 games. What was he thinking? But also, they dropped 2 places down the league, out of the automatic promotion down to 3rd. And Lambert saw red after getting a red card at the full-time whistle and a 1-match ban off the touchline. And his post-interview, he blamed the man in the middle for that loss. Dan, was he right? Can we get your quick thoughts on this game?
Yeah, no, he wasn't right. We just didn't do enough in the game. You know, we passed it around well, as we usually do, but we had absolutely no goal for it, really. You know, I don't know how many shots we had in the end, but there wasn't really any chances for us. And then once again, for the second game in a row, Toto does something stupid. You know, maybe it was a bit soft, the penalty, but you shouldn't give the ref the choice in that position. The ball was going out. I'm pretty sure it was going out for a goal kick anyway. I don't know if the Lincoln player would have caught up with the ball. So you just don't give the ref, you know, a choice to make a decision. And obviously he did. And then, you know, Lambert's comments after the game annoyed us Ipswich fans, because we know watching the game that we didn't do enough to win it. So him saying that we played amazing football and the ref cost us the game, it was quite frustrating. So yeah, again, can't beat a team around us, which is quite worrying and quite a disappointing result and performance.
Yes, a little bit worrying for Ipswich Town. Well, they got back underway once again, returning at home on Tuesday night. And well, they came back in action and they won thanks to Teddy Bishop's late winner, securing 3 points at a 1-0 victory against Gillingham, the side that apparently dominated the whole game, Gillingham. But if you look at the stats, you didn't really, unfortunately. Just a little bit salty there, Steve Evans. But Dan, back to winning ways after 2 consecutive defeats on the bounce. But Ipswich really did have to fight for that point, because at one moment, the ball wasn't going in the back of net. I think they hit the crossbar, the post. It went wide every single time. They dominated, but they struggled in the end, didn't they?
Yeah, we did struggle. You know, there were so many chances for us to take the lead. And, you know, it was one of them games where I thought, typical Ipswich, we come to the game against Gillingham favourites and we're going to draw 0-0 with them. But fortunately, we scored that lovely finish to win the game. But yeah, it was really frustrating. I thought in the first half, Gillingham weren't in the game at all. I don't really get Steve Evans' comments, because they just weren't in the game at all, especially in the first half. We absolutely dominated. I don't even think they had a shot in the first half. We passed it around quite well, and then we just didn't have the cutting edge once again. We had chances to take the lead. Obviously, Lancaster hit the bar. Sears had a chance that got deflected wide. I don't think Sears had the best first half, to be honest. And of course, Edwards started on the right again, which kind of I didn't really get. I know Lambert. I know he wasn't there, but he likes to play Sears on the left wing. And if you're going to start Sears, then I don't know which way you're going to put it around, because Hawkins started as well. But we do prefer Edwards on the left, but he started on the right. So we didn't. We did okay in the first half. I thought. We created chances and we were passing it around well. And obviously, coming into the second half, I thought that we were easily going to be able to score a goal, because it happened in other games where we were going to half time at 0-0 and we get an early goal, but that didn't happen. And I think Gillingham started getting into the game in the second half. Steve Evans said it was one-way traffic in the second half. I don't think it was quite like that. There was a few chances that Gillingham had, but we had chances as well. And we were so close to taking a lead in the second half. And I thought, if fans were here at this time, it'd be so frustrating. And would we actually get the winner? But fortunately we did, and eventually Teddy Bishop got that winning goal. And overall, I'm pleased with the 3 points, but there's still little bits of worry in there, definitely.
Well, as you said there, this has finally found the winner in the 85th minute. They created a lot of chances. They dominated the game. It should have been 2 or 3 up really by the end of the match. But should we be praising them for sticking to that game plan? Because as you just said there, if the crowd was in, it would have been a bit anxious, been a bit nervy. Gillingham would have scored in that time with the sort of the atmosphere around the stadium. But should we be praising for not really bottling and just getting anxious in this crucial moments and just keep going with that game plan? They were praised by Stuart Taylor. He praised them. They stuck to that game plan and it worked.
Yeah, I think we probably should be praised for that. I think the midfield were good on Tuesday, and we used the midfield a lot. And I think some of the passes that they were doing were really good. And I think we tried to do that throughout the whole game. Maybe we should have changed up at half time, because after half time, Gillingham kind of started getting back into the game. I think we were rushing it a little bit to try and get the attacks going, and it wasn't really working. But I think we should give praise to the players for keep on going. And I think if that would have been 0-0, then it would have been a much different story. Our fans would have reacted in such a different way. It would have been really frustrating. But hats off to our players. They kept going at it, and eventually, they broke the deadlock, which it was really important for us to get the 3 points. And I think it'll give the players confidence as well. So yeah, I think they should get praise for that. But obviously, I still think there's a little bit of worry in the performance, especially in the second half. Gillingham will kind of getting back into it, so there's still a little bit of worry there.
Still a little bit worried there. Well, the biggest news before the start of the match, Lambert made 3 changes from the defeat against Lincoln on Saturday. I think that's the most changes he's made between games, really. I don't think he made many changes between League Cup games. That's the most he has made all season, seeing Wilson, Enciala and Noland out, with McGuinness, Wolverton and Sears in. It was a big night for McGuinness, making his Ipswich Town debut after joining from Arsenal under-23s after a professive performance against Ipswich in the EFL Trophy, where he kept the clean sheet and really kept Ipswich out of the game. Also, he did quite well. Also, Luke Walton making his first league start this season. Both of them looked pretty comfortable on the ball. There's a new partnership at the back for Ipswich Town. One of Ipswich's exciting young players, Luke Walton, who signed another 4-year deal, hasn't been in the squad. There's been a lot of talk that Lambert is not liking him. He's a little bit lazy for his liking, but we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Fans want him to play, but them two together, they work quite well, comfortable on the ball. This is going to be a big question. Should they be starting ahead of Toto and Wilson, who have been pretty rock solid at the back, but not very comfortable on the ball?
No, I think that they should be starting ahead of Wilson and Toto. I think from the off on Tuesday, you could see how much more comfortable they were on the ball. And, it wasn't really nervous when they had their feet on the ball, which is really good because, when Toto and Wilson have been doing that, I think they've been kind of panicking a little bit and then giving it back to Holy. The strikers from the opposition team push on and try and put us under pressure. And that's what causes us to make mistakes. We saw that against Doncaster. So it's really good to see, two centre-backs that are good on the ball. I think McGuinness had a really good debut. I think, keeping a clean sheet is really good. That was his first professional appearance. He hasn't played a single professional game for that except friendlies for Arsenal. So, yeah, it was good for him to keep a clean sheet on his debut, and I think he did really well. So I'd like to see him again. I think Wolfden's our best centre-back. So I know it seems like he's had a bit of a falling out with Lambert. I don't know what it is. It just seems like that kind of relationship between them at the moment. But I think having a clean sheet on your first game back, I think is a good sign. So I hope that he starts again on Saturday at home to Crewe. So I do expect that to be the centre-back partnership for the next game, and I really want it to be that. I was surprised that Wilson was completely dropped. I think there might have been an injury maybe in there. He might be ill, because he was taken out of the 18 fully. So, yeah, I was pretty sure that Wilson was going to start. I did think Toto was going to get dropped after the mistakes he made, which happened. But yeah, I was happy. I was definitely happy to see McGuinness and Wolfden as a centre back pairing. Maybe they didn't have, they weren't really under pressure against Gillingham. I think, the strikers Samuel and Akinde, they weren't really putting us under pressure up front. So, yeah, maybe they didn't have pressure on them, which made it easier for them. But overall, I think they had a good performance, both of them. Yeah, and I'd like to see them on Saturday.
Let's hope we see them again on Saturday. But another big bit of news that came out from the Ipswich Town game, 3 minutes into the game, which is a little bit strange from Ipswich Town. Usually, they like to reveal things before the game, but they revealed it 3 minutes into the game that Paul Lambert wasn't serving his touchline ban. He was serving at home, due to a pending COVID test, which has now come back negative after Matt Gill, the first team coach, tested positive. So all of us here at Ipswich Town, we wish him a speedy recovery. I think he's going to be possibly back very soon. I think he missed the Lincoln game, which wasn't stressed about, but it looks like this is the new normal of football at the moment. Isn't it, Dan?
Yeah, it does. I think after Jackson, got ill from it, I think our players, our staff and players have got that risk. And, I thought that when it was revealed that Lambert was at home and he was getting a test for COVID, I was like, he's probably got it, which isn't great news. Going into big games without a manager, I know our fans, Lambert definitely has his critics. But, going into important games coming up without a manager isn't great. I know Stuart Taylor, he done well to be on the sidelines. It was him and Jimmy Walker that kind of took over. So that was good to see that we got a win with them in charge. But I think having Lambert back will be good. And I think, yeah, it's definitely a risk now. We've seen teams around the country having to postpone games because of the amount of COVID, positive tests that they've had. So I think that's definitely a worry that's, it's going to be in the heads of teams around the country. But you just got to play by ear, I guess. If you've got enough players to play, then what can you do? But yeah, I do think that it'll be in the back of, owners and managers' minds, definitely.
Yeah, it is a big worry because we had Acton Stanley not so many weeks ago. They had 8 tests positive. I don't think they've played ever since. Fleetwood have played, and we saw Steve Evans criticise sort of how this testing is done because he played Fleetwood and they're the last team to play Acton Stanley, and they're saying there's not enough tests done, but we'll have to wait and see, unfortunately. I think it's one of those situations, like you said, you have to now play by ear. Well, Dan, back to the football. The last 2 games ended in defeats for Ipswich Town before the win. There's a lot of thoughts that this was going to be a repeat of last season. The troubles were coming back. Everyone was a bit anxious, nervous going into every game. But this victory seemed to have sort of settled the nerves of the fans. Do you feel that getting this, do you feel this important victory, how much important is this now to Ipswich? Because they could possibly now succeed. They are still in the run. I know we're sort of saying that we've played 9 games so far, but every game at the moment is just get 3 points or get something from it.
Yeah, it is. I think the difference between this year and last year was after our first two losses of the season. I think we went into that period where there wasn't any league games. We didn't play over the international break. There was a lot of cup games. We kept drawing them, so we had replays. I think it was against Coventry. We played them like twice at St Andrews in a week, and then we had to play them at Portman Road in the cold and rain like a week later. And then we played Lincoln twice as well. So yeah, it was a tough time in the calendar, but obviously that's no excuse for the way we dropped off. It was disappointing, but I don't think we have that pressure on us this season. It is still a worry that we lost to Lincoln and Doncaster, who are up there with us. It's kind of, the league is panning out now where you can see what teams are going to be in the top 8, I reckon. And I think losing to Lincoln and Doncaster, who are in the top 8, kind of, it definitely takes us back to last season, where that was why we failed, because we couldn't beat teams around us, and it looks like it's happening again. But then I think this victory was an important one. I think it took the pressure off the players a little bit, unlike it did last season, because we went into that period, as I said. So I think, going into the game on Saturday, it's against a team that's not in the top 8, so we'll have to see how we do. But I think the next game against the top 8 side is going to be the next big test. And if we can't win that, then it's worrying what will happen this season, because if we can't beat the teams around us, then we're going to finish at the bottom of that top 8, the pack in at the top. So yeah, it does worry me.
Well, the next game against the top 8 side is Sunderland, which is next Tuesday on the 3rd of November. But we have a game in between that, and there's Ipswich Town back home once again, looking to continue an unbeaten run at home. I think they're the only, didn't you say, Dan, before we came on, that they're the only team in League One not to concede a goal at home yet? If I'm correct?
I think so. I know we haven't conceded a game at home, but I don't know if we're the only club. I think we are, but there might be someone like Lincoln or Hull probably haven't. But yeah, we definitely haven't conceded a goal at home yet, which is good.
Definitely not yet. Well, after the victory against Gillingham in midweek, the opponents travelling to Portman Road this week are Crewe Alexander, who are currently sitting 15th in League One after getting 3 wins, 1 draw and 4 defeats this season. I think their notable victories are that they won against Doncaster a few weeks back, but they have lost to Charlton, Hull, Lincoln and Sunderland, all sides in the top 7, so they've played a lot of big sides this season. But the last time these two sides met was in the 10/11 season in the League Cup second round, where Ipswich won on extra time thanks to Dave Norris's only goal of the game. But Ipswich are unbeaten in all meetings against Crewe Alexander at home in League and Cup. Dan, can Ipswich make it 2 wins here out of a row?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be. I think it'll be a more difficult game than it was on Tuesday. I think Gillingham came here for a draw, but I think Crewe will definitely come here. They've got some decent players. I think, they've had an okay start after promotion. They're not, down the bottom. I think they're kind of mid-table at the moment, 14th or 15th, I think they are. So I do think it'll be 15th. So I do think it'll be a more difficult game than Gillingham, but I think they have the quality that can beat them. I know they have. I think Kirk is probably their best player. He's a good player, but I think overall we have the better squad. And I think after this win against Gillingham, I think we'll have confidence going into it. I just hope that we can, not give away as much chance as we did against Gillingham, because against a team that has good attackers, we might suffer. There was a lot of chances for Gillingham that should have gone in. So I think it'll be a 2-1 win. I don't think it'll be a clean sheet, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 win.
Well, then Dan is going for a win for Ipswich Town against Crewe Alexander. What are you guys going to go for? Let us know by tweeting us at Pitchside Talk on Twitter to let us know what your score prediction for Ipswich Town versus Crewe Alexander is. And when we come back, we can talk about the Premier League. Another game week down, more controversy, and some big sides losing once again.
Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio with me, George and Dan. As always, at our new times on Fridays at 5 p.m. on IO Radio. Before I forget to mention, follow us on any of our social medias. It's pretty simple. Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram Talk_pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud are both at Pitchside Talk. If you want to listen back to any of our pre-shows or if anything from this, if you missed anything from this will be up Fridays at 6 p.m. As the show ends, I upload it very quick because I'm very good like that. And well, Dan, we're going to be talking about the Premier League back once again for another game week. Game week 6, where all 20 teams are back in action. Only 19 goals scored across 10 games this week. Not an exciting week, but some big results from some clubs. And here are the results. It's starting off with Friday night's game. Aston Villa had a chance to go top of the table, but they lost 3-0 to Leeds. Dan predicted that somebody was going to score 3 goals, Aston Villa, but Leeds unfortunately scored them instead. That's Villa's first defeat in the Premier League in 9 games. And then back over to Saturday, West Ham drawed 1-1 with Manchester City. This is David Moyes' first points against Manchester City since March 2013. And Man City have now only won 8 points from the first 5 Premier League games. It's the lowest they've had at any stage since the 14/15 season. Some worrying times for Pep Guardiola and his side at the moment. Fulham lost once again, losing 2-1 to Crystal Palace. This is Fulham's worst start to a Premier League season ever in 6 games. Manchester United drew 0-0 with Chelsea. Liverpool won 2-1 against Sheffield United. Sheffield United continuing a winless run of 9 games. And then we move over to Sunday and Southampton beat Everton 2-1. This victory for Southampton marked a year of when they lost 9-0 to Leicester. What a difference a year makes for the Saints. And Wolves drawed 1-1 with Newcastle, and Arsenal lost 1-0 to Leicester. This is Leicester's first ever victory against Arsenal since September 1973, ending a run of 27 games in all competitions. Moving over to Monday night's games, and Brighton drawed 1-1 with West Brom, and Burnley lost 1-0 to Tottenham. Well, Dan, where do we start? We start off with the league leaders, Everton, who suffered their first league defeat of the season against Southampton, ending their unbeaten run. They missed it. Seamus Coleman was a big problem for them because Saints kept attacking down that left-hand side, causing a lot of problems, and scored 2 goals from that area. And also ending the match with 10 men as Luca Digne got sent off for a straight red card against Carl Walker-Peters, which was a 3-match ban, which now has been reduced to 1 match. A day to forget for Carlo Ancelotti's side, can we say?
Yeah, definitely a day to forget. I think, them going up against Southampton, you think that from the start that Everton have had, they'd go on and win it. But I was quite surprised to see the 2-0 win to Southampton. Obviously, Southampton had a very good start in the Premier League this season. So, difficult game to go away there. But, Everton have had a fantastic start as well. So I think it's just, definitely an off day for them. Liverpool are down their backs at the moment. They're getting closer. So, I don't think, I said it from the start, I don't think Everton will stay there. I'm going to stay by that. I think, they've had a really good start, but it's tough staying top of the league. And when you're a team like Everton, who, there's definitely teams in the league that maybe haven't had a as good start, but have got stronger squads than you. I think it's even more tougher to stay there. Obviously, they had a really good transfer window, signed some very good players. But I think this result shows that there still is some weaknesses in there, especially in, the injury from Coleman. I think, Godfrey go to right back. Obviously, he's not a right back, so that's how Southampton, put their attacks forward. So, there's still some weaknesses in that Everton squad, and I think, they've had a very good start, but I think they'll drop off eventually. And I think the task will be whether they can, be in Europe next year, because I think that is possible for them. But I think that's their aim, definitely for the end of the season.
Well, to ask you, was the sending off for Luca Digne a red card? Because Carlo Ancelotti at the end of the game was saying that wasn't a red card. The only reason it was a red card because Pickford wasn't sent off. He's been talked about a lot in the week. Richarlison was sent off as well for a similar sort of tackle. But do you believe that was a red card? Because there's some people saying it is, but some people saying it isn't a red card, but the ref has to give him one because the letter of law says that is a red.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's so many of these tackles that, it goes either way. Some people say that it is a red card and some people say it isn't, but you've got to think about how dangerous the tackle is. And when I watch it, I do think it's a red card, but then, I see other people saying that it isn't. And then I kind of look at it again and think, I don't know. It's really, I think it's just one of them ones that will go either way. But, after seeing it, the first time I was like, that's a red. But, it definitely put that into my mind when I saw people saying that it wasn't. But I do think it was a red overall. I think he made the right decision. I think the ref had to do that. And, people saying that, because Pickford wasn't given a red card, that had to be, I just think that's silly. You forget about that and go on to the next game. And I do think it was a red card.
Well, yeah, I do think it's a red card as well, because I looked at it and I thought it looks like a red, but also the Kamara red card for Fulham. That was sort of the similar tackle.
Yeah, it was.
And that was given a yellow card, and then it was reviewed, given us red. And I thought, well, that's got to be the same because you've got to keep up continuity here. That's the biggest problem with VAR and referees. There's no continuity between all of them. But yeah, but I think it's better it's been suspended now to a 1-match ban instead of 3. Everton will be back very soon for you, unlike Richardson's out for 3 games still. But moving on to another side, Arsenal. They lost their second consecutive game for the first time since the 18/90 season, dropping down to 11th place in the league from being 4th only a few weeks ago. But Arteta side firing blank once again, Dan. But Arteta looks like he's having a tough time at the moment. But should the game ended 1-1? Because Lacazette put the ball in the back of the net, and they thought it took a deflection off Granit Xhaka, who was offside. But some of the replays show he didn't even touch it. And the replays they showed, he didn't touch it. So why is it being ruled out?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just VAR once again, making silly decisions. If the ball doesn't touch him he's obviously offside, right? But it doesn't touch him. So I don't understand how that was disallowed. I guess because I thought the rule was if you're in the way of the keeper's eye line and you're offside, then it will be given. But I just don't understand it. It's just the consistency, isn't it? The consistency of VAR is so wrong because in another game, that would have been given, definitely, because it didn't touch Xhaka on the way through. But obviously, this one was disallowed, and maybe, Arsenal feel hard done by that. And obviously, they lost again and they're struggling. Leicester, they've had a good start, and, Vardy, scored again. I think that's his 100th goal in the Premier League now. He scored 100 goals recently. But, so I think they will feel hard done by. And, of course, it's another game where VAR decides the result, which is quite annoying. But, they need to do something with VAR to make it more consistent because, as I said, another game that would have been given.
But speaking of Arteta, the second consecutive game he's lost as Arsenal manager for the first time since 18/90 season under Unai Emery, which was actually fun enough against Crystal Palace and Leicester. It's the 2 games they lost. But they've got a tricky run coming up. They've got Manchester United, Leeds, Burnley, Everton, and then they've got Chelsea to end this difficult run off. It's not looking good for Arsenal at the moment. They've come out of one tricky period and they've moved into another one as well.
Yeah, they definitely have. Obviously, they had an okay start. They were 4th, before this game. So, it does show how close the league is, but, they've got a really tough run coming up and it's going to be a massive test for them. Keeping Aubameyang was a great thing, but I still think their squad is weak. I think, they signed that centre-back, Gabriel, someone like that. I can't remember his name, but I don't really know if he's been great. I think he's been an improvement, but David Luiz is still starting, which why? But yeah, they have a really tough run, and they've gone into another tricky period where they need to pick up results, and if they don't, then they're going to stay in this mid-table fight. It is close in the Premier League. Chelsea are only 1 place above them, which is a bit strange. Seeing these big teams down in the mid-table area. Chelsea, Arsenal, City, and United are all there. So I think you need to get results now to get out of this mid-table obscurity. So yeah, it's definitely a tough run for Arsenal coming up, and they need to get results out of it.
Well, now moving on to the winners of this week's game week in the Premier League, and we'll move back to Southampton, who jumped up to 7th after this victory against Everton. But this victory was a bigger sort of significant moment for Southampton this March a year ago since they lost 9-0 to Leicester at home. A turning point described by James Ward-Prowse, a wake-up call as well by Ralph Hassleton, he described it as. Since that loss, they have won 16 out of 34 games, victories over Man City, Chelsea, Tottenham, Leicester, not removing Ralph Hassleton and getting signed another 4-year deal at the club. I think we have to say, really, it's a massive turnaround by them, but I think Southampton owners and chairmen need praise here because they gave the trust to Ralph, who was struggling at the time, but they've gone on to flourish. And Southampton, I think we could say here, could be a Europa League contender this season.
Yeah, maybe. As you said, I think, Hasenhüttl, after their 9-0 loss, I was like, that's it for him. And they stuck by him. And, overall, he's done a really good job to turn Southampton around. So, yeah, fair play to the chairman and the owners of Southampton for, trusting in him. Because if you're Watford, you lose 9-0 and you're going to sack your manager because that's what Watford do when they have a few bad results. But, fair play to them for keeping him. And it's shown, the trust that they've had in him has shown that you need to trust your manager a bit more because he's definitely turned it around for Southampton. They've looked really good so far this season. They've had a fantastic start. I think they've had a better start than people would have predicted. So, I think they have a strong squad. They have a strong Premier League squad, and they have a squad that can stay up in the Premier League. Whether they can stay in the top, 8 teams and get a Europa League spot, it's definitely going to be difficult for them because, I think City and Chelsea and Arsenal will get, runs under their belt and, go up into them European spots. So, they've got teams down their necks and I don't know if they have enough to be in Europe next year, but, fair play to them. They've had a great start and it's definitely shown, that Hasenhüttl's the right man for the job.
Is that sort of missed now in the Premier League, giving managers time? Because he was given time and he's shown that you can do it with time. But is that something now that's missed in the Premier League? If more managers give more time, do you reckon they can improve? But with him, he's flourished under time.
Yeah, he has. Maybe. I think it's just got into habit now where teams will just change their managers over and over again. And I don't like to see it because Watford is a perfect example. I think Nigel Pearson, he came in. It was going to be a difficult task to save Watford anyway, but he did a really good job. He got them, away from the bottom by like 9 points, I think it was at the time. He got them out of the relegation zone. I know he had a poor run towards the end, and they kind of went back into the bottom 3. But no, sacking him after 2 games is just a stupid decision, and I don't like it that teams change their managers so often. It just it stops the gel of the players as well. I think if you change managers too much, the players are affected as well, and it affects their performance. And I think Premier League teams they're prone to doing that. I really do, and it's good to see that a team hasn't done that and actually stuck by their manager, and it might be paying off now. So I think Southampton owners should get a lot of praise for that. And I guess Hasenhüttl's got a job to do from now on, and let's see if he can do it.
Yes, we'll have to wait and see. Well, Southampton ended Everton's unbeaten run to start to the season, and Leeds ended Aston Villa's winning start to the season, ruined their chances of going back to the top tail thanks to a Patrick Bamford hat-trick. I think we could say that's sweet revenge, really, for the last time these two sides met. I think we all remember the game, and I think Patrick Bamford was sent off in that game as well, or got a suspension after it, wasn't it?
For diving, yeah.
For diving, so sweet little revenge there for Leeds fans over Aston Villa fans. But focusing on Leeds and Patrick Bamford, they're currently 6th in the table, massive jump from there. They surprised a lot of people. I think their football was going to be hit or miss. It can work or it cannot, but they've got some really good results. They nearly got a point out of Liverpool, points out of Man City. But they lost last time out to Wolves, a big sort of significant moment, bringing them back down to earth. But Bamford, I think we can say, he's had his critics. We can say he's had his critics. He didn't cut it in the Premier League when he was at Chelsea and Middlesbrough. It didn't work out for him. But under Bielsa, he's become the talisman of Leeds, I think we can say now.
Yeah, he has. And I have to admit, I was one of his critics. I think when Leeds signed him, I was like, that's just an average signing. But yeah, when Leeds got promoted, I thought they need to sign a striker because he's not going to be able to cut it in the Premier League. I think he's a good championship striker, but he wasn't going to cut it. But he's proved everyone wrong. He really has. You know, to score a hat-trick in the Premier League and have Leeds for it, you know, in the top four, then, or are they in the top four? I can't remember.
Top six.
I don't think they are. Top six. Shows how much research I do before the show. But yeah, no, you know, Leeds have had a really good start. I think, you know, they've come to the Premier League with a game plan. You know, it was hit or miss whether it was going to work. I think Bielsa, you know, he's a good manager to take them into the Premier League. Obviously, he's a world-class manager. But, you know, the way that Leeds play, it was going to be hit or miss whether their players could cut it in the Premier League. But they've definitely been able to do that. I think, you know, nearly getting a draw out of Liverpool, they played well in that game. You know, they've got some really good results under their belt. Yeah, and then, you know, beating Aston Villa 3-0 away from home, a really good result. And a fair play to them because, you know, they were definitely going to be a team that I thought would be mid-table. I thought they'd be fine. They'll be able to stay in there. But they've had a fantastic start. And it looks like Bielsa's style of playing is working in the Premier League as well, which is a good sign for them. So fair play to them, and let's see if they can carry on with this form.
Can we say, if they keep this up, can we realistically say that they could be, like Southampton, could they be pushing for that European places? Because every side is struggling at the moment, and they seem to be ruffling everybody's feathers. I think we can say that Leeds are going to come in and do that anyway. But can we realistically say that they could be pushing for it if Bamford's going to keep this up? And they've got some fantastic players who have shown that you can play Championship football and still be good in the Premier League.
Yeah, they have. And, you know, I think every team aims to be in them Europa League spots, I guess, that are kind of predicting to be mid-table. You want to be in Europe, that's the aim. So I think Leeds will be aiming for that after the start that they've had. I think with the players that they have, it's like Wolves. You know, they pretty much had the same team that they did now in the Championship, and they had a really good team in the Championship. And, you know, everyone thought that they were easily going to stay up in the Premier League. And I think Leeds going up as well, I think everyone knew that their team was really good and they'd be really good in the Premier League and be able to stay up. But is their team good enough to be in Europe? That's the question. And do their players definitely have quality? It's obvious to see that. But are they going to have it in them to stay there throughout the whole season? You know, it's still early on. And as I said about Southampton, there's going to be teams that are rising and are going to get results throughout the rest of the season. So it's definitely going to be a difficult task for them. But, you know, if they keep up this form under Bielsa, who knows what they could do. I think, you know, that's definitely what they're going to aim for. But it's definitely going to be a tough ask to get there as well.
Yes, who knows? This Premier League season is unpredictable. It's so unpredictable. We do not know what's going to happen. Well, let's look at the Premier League table after game week 6 and starting off with 20th. We have Fulham, 19th is Sheffield United and Burnley are in 18th, all on 1 point, but now are only 2 points away from safety as West Brom got a draw. They're now 17th on 3 points. Brighton, 16th with 5 points. Manchester United is still 15th on 7 points. Newcastle dropped down to 14th on 8. Man City dropped down from 11th to 13th on 8 points. West Ham dropped down to 12th on 8 points. Arsenal dropped down to 11th on 9 points. 10th is Chelsea on 9 points. Wolves 9th with 10 points. Crystal Palace, a big jump this time round from 14th to 8th on 10 points. Southampton sits 7th on 10. Leeds sits 6th on 10. Tottenham 5th on 11 points. Leicester 12th with 12 points. Third is Aston Villa with 12 points. Liverpool second with 13 points. And Everton first at the top of the table with 13 points. And they're only split by 4 goal difference between the top 2. Whew. What a Premier League bit there. Can't get my words out. But when we come back, I'm going to be talking about the Champions League. Back once again for match week 2. Let's see how our English side's got on again.
The best place in Ipswich to hear the latest football debates, Pitchside Talk on IO Radio.
Well, welcome back to Pitchside Talk here on IO Radio. Fridays at 5 p.m. our new time here with me, George, and Dan. As always, we're always here. We're always here to the end. We're always here to the final whistle and that little bit after the game where you sort of I missed that a little bit after the game, Dan. It's a little bit wrong hit, where the referee's full-time whistle going, you sort of just like lingering around for like 5 minutes going, do I go?
Yeah.
Do I not? Like, I missed that little bit.
Especially if you've won. It's better if you've won because the players come and clap the fans and it's all happy.
Well, it's just when they're losing anyway, perfectly honest, not to be
Yeah,
rude.
yeah, but I leave immediately if we've lost. Can't be dealing with it.
I get stuck in the traffic trying to go down the tunnel. What? I missed that feeling. Hopefully we'll be back very soon to football matches. But we've got the Champions League roundup now. Hooray! It's back.
Right.
1 week after match week 1. The Champions League was back once again for match week 2 with Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea and Manchester United all playing their games. And this is how it went down for them. So it starts off at Anfield. Liverpool moved 2 points clear off the top of Group D after a 2-0 victory over newcomers Midtjylland, thanks to goals from Jota, which is the 10,000th goal in Liverpool's history, and a late penalty from Mo Salah. But some more bad news for Liverpool. Fabinho went off injured with a slight hamstring problem, which has now been come back with. He could be back after the international break, which is good news for Liverpool. It was feared it was very bad. But Jurgen Klopp described this as a massive shock for the team. And now moving on to Manchester City. They might be struggling in the Premier League, but they continue their perfect start in the Champions League as they beat Marseille 3-0 thanks to goals from Torres, Gundogan and Raheem Sterling scoring on the night. But big news for Man City, they played with no recognised striker because Aguero is still injured and Jesus is going to be out for a little bit longer, according to Pep Guardiola. But they experimented with Fernand Torres, Sterling and Foden are playing as I don't know what they're playing, a flotation sort of front line, which worked for Pep. But Pep said we were close. We were close now to being in the last 16, but this is just the beginning for his side. Still haunted by what happened last time in the Champions League when they lost to Lyon in the quarterfinals. And moving on to Wednesday's games, Chelsea got their first win of Group E after a impressive performance against Kronoston, the new Champions League side, a 2,187-mile round trip for Chelsea to Russia, but it was well worth it in the end as they scored 4 goals thanks to Callum Hudson-Odoi, Werner, Ziyech and Pulisic. Peers would be very happy about that. And finally, Manchester United continued their recent momentum by taking apart RB Leipzig by 5 goals as Marcus Rashford scores a hat-trick in 16 minutes after coming off the bench. What can he not do? He is incredible. I think we have to say that. I think we all say he's incredible, and he is incredible. But also Greenwood and Martial scored as well. This is the first time since, history begun that all the English sides are leading their groups at exactly the same time. I think, Dan, we have to say, what a game week this has been by all the English sides.
Yeah, definitely. It's really good to see all the English clubs doing well. Obviously, we had the finals of the English clubs a couple of years ago, so it's really good to see because this never really usually happens. It's usually, the big European sides that, get drawn against the English clubs that are going to be top of the league. I'm just happy that Bayern Munich aren't playing any of the English clubs because I think they're probably the best in Europe at the moment and they're winning games. So, yeah, fantastic to see. I always like to see the English clubs do well in the Champions League. So, yeah, what a match day and what a start that happened.
I think we have to say here, this is sort of giving us a lot of buzz really, because we could be looking at 4 English teams in the last 16 of the Champions League, and this would be quite exciting to see.
Yeah, it will be exciting. Obviously, I'm not the biggest, Champions League watcher. It gets to the quarterfinals, and I'll watch the games, but I don't really watch the group games very much. But if there's an English club getting to the last 16 and further than that, and I always like to see how they do. So it's definitely exciting to see all the English teams get a really good start in the Champions League. And I'm looking forward to see how they do.
Dan, you've never lived. You need to watch the group stage matches. I know they might be a little bit boring, but you've got to watch. You hear the anthem, you're like, lovely.
I don't get Champions League fever like everyone else does. I don't know what it is. I guess it's because, I don't know.
I think I know what it is. You get League One fever when you like to watch your team playing on a cold, miserable Tuesday night, somewhere like Acton Stanley or Plymouth.
Yeah.
Who are they? On a cold Tuesday night. That's what feelings you get. Well, that's our little Champions League roundup. And when we come back, we've got a little bit of time for a football roundup. How exciting.
Pitchside Talk, footy debate from the Premier League Outback.
Well, welcome back to Pitch I Talk here on iRadio. It's Fridays at 5 p.m. with me, George, and Dan. And Dan, guess what?
What?
We've got a little bit of time here for a football roundup.
Hey!
Finally got some time for it. And well, I'm going to start off. You've got a little bit of news, but I'm going to start off first. And we're going to start off with some more Champions League matches. So, Real Madrid draw 2-2 to Borussia Mönchengladbach. I said their name correctly. They came from 2 goals down to get a draw, thanks to Casemiro's late equaliser in the last few minutes. But the biggest match of the Champions League, which we didn't mention, Juventus versus Barcelona, Ronaldo versus Messi. Well, sorry, Juventus versus Messi. Ronaldo was out after a few positive COVID tests, but that finished 2-0 to Barcelona. But Barcelona tweeted out, "We was glad yourself to see the goat on your pitch tonight at Juventus. Love heart." How nice. They're taking the mickey out of them. But Dan, you've got some news. Go for it.
Yes. So I've got some Ipswich Town news. So our youngster Ben Falami, he's gone out on loan to Australia to Melbourne. So good luck to him. That'll be a good move for him to get some game time under his belt. So yeah, I think that's a good move for him. And also, I've got some Champions League news as well, George.
Oh.
Yeah. So UEFA have confirmed this morning that 2 Scottish teams will be entered into the qualifying rounds in next season's Champions League. So they have 2 spots now.
That would be. I tell you what would be quite fun to watch. In the last 16, if they do get through, Rangers versus Celtic, an old firm in the Champions League.
In the Champions League.
Oh, that would
be good, wouldn't it?
I think I would pay all my money to watch that. I don't care if it would be a 0-0. I think that'd be the best. That'd be the best sort of thing to have in the Champions League. But
it would.
We'll have to wait and see. That's good news for Scottish football because I know for a time they've only had 1, and it's always been Celtic, but now they've got 2. They've got to have a little bit of variety, which is good to see. Well, Dan, we're at the end of the show. Oh no!
Yes, we are. Oh.
We've run out of time. We've used all up for football roundup, Ipswich Premier League, and the UEFA Champions League. Well, are you going to be with me next week? Well, we're probably going to talk about Ipswich Town once again. We've got 2 games. We've got Crewe and we've got Sunderland.
Yeah. I'll be here next week after we've lost to Sunderland.
Hey, don't be that negative. You never know what can happen.
No, you never know.
Football can surprise you at any time. Well, I want to say thank you for listening to this week's show. Before we go, I better mention the social media links. So, Twitter at Pitchside Talk, Instagram Talk_Pitch, YouTube and Mixcloud, Pitchside Talk. If you missed any of this show, if you want to listen back to any of our previous shows, where Dan's usually happier because it's just won, but usually sometimes angry because it's just lost. And there's usually 3 of us, which is now just 2 of us at the moment.
Oh.
Yeah. The contract has been not torn up. But
has it been terminated?
There's been a bump in the road. We've got to a exclusive deal like the Premier League have for pay-per-view. There's a little bit of a hinder in the road, but we'll come to some sort of arrangement very soon. Well, I want to say thank you to listen to this week's show. I've been George. I've been joined by Dan. As always, we'll see you next week. And ciao.
See ya.
The whistle has been blown for full time. Tune in next week for another jam-packed show.